that funny thing. We're starting already, but I'm just gonna go. What I'm thinking of something and it's got music and it says hit it girl. So anyway, we just hit it and we are live on Forever After That for we were out last week for the 4th of July, so we're back and lots has been going on. Lots has been going on. Lots have been going on. What is the correct English? There has been a lot going on in the past week energetically for a lot of us, including the two of us sitting here before you. So do you notice that I say a lot?
I do that all the time. And it's just like, it's either or something else, I forget what the other one is. And I'm constantly catching myself like, why do you say that phrase over and over?
Just a moment of unthought. It's a moment when my brain is rebooting for a second. So the comes out and I'll try to control it better. You guys let me know when I'm not doing it right. So I'm going to go ahead and share this out for a minute, see if we can get some people watching. And if you want to tell us about your day or your week or anything that's going on in your world for just a second, I'll turn it over to you, Carol.
Well, my world is turned upside down, happiness upside down, because about a week and a half ago, my daughter moved closer to home. So she's very close after having lived in California and then Tennessee for a year and a half. And now she's back home in Baltimore. So
with
really kind of nice.
With
all the grandkids and my son-in-law, who I dearly love. So
yeah, that's
just been lots of fun, lots to get used to, get to know them. Because when you only get to see your grandchildren and your daughter and son-in-law maybe once a year, it's a big change. But it's a great change, a beautiful change. So
anyway, it's your opportunity.
It makes me happy.
They're great ages too, those grandchildren. So even though you haven't had them a lot when they were really little, they're at that age where they're just so much fun too. There's so much adventure. So I think I always step back. I'm like, she must be having fun. I would like to have someday, maybe one or more of my children will bless me. But for now, I don't have any. So I live vicariously through Carol. We have some people. Julie gets
do.
And Gary, I know there's another one. I can't see who it is yet, but I got different pages going, so it's hard for me. Julie says she's so happy for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah. There's nothing like it. I can't imagine. It's so difficult when our kids have to be so far away from us. I have like 3 here with me, but I have 2 in Chicago and 1 in New York. So it's difficult because we raise those little buggers and then they go someplace far away, or we go further away. And so to have them have both your daughters right there close by after all this time, it's got to just feel like a big old, I don't even have a good word for it. It just feels like home when everybody comes back together. So
it's nice. It's just nice to have family around again, because it was just Lisa and I, and that's tough. When everybody else is out of state.
You're coming up towards holidays before you know it. So that's going to be really special.
Yeah.
Excited.
So I wonder how everybody else has been doing, this past week or so since we've been off.
Great.
If anybody's got something good to tell us, let us know. Anything wonderful that happened to you, or something in the metaphysical, spiritual realm that might have happened to you, let us know.
Yeah, we would love to hear. We try to keep it okay. So if I get Julie on this one, I get Stacy on that one. I'm going to go back to that one. I want to have as many people. I want to be able to see you guys when you're commenting, and it seems like for some reason when I'm on a different one, I get more comments on it, and now I've lost him on that one too. So it's okay. It'll all come back. Eventually I'll get it all figured out. It's been, I would have to say that this week has been, many of us are seeing some huge growth. We are seeing huge growth in the way that in some ways we're suffering. We're suffering a lot of physical symptoms as the body begins to adjust to upgrades, a lot of activations. It's like, and I really need to say that to anybody that's watching, is that even though you you sometimes feel as if you've got something physically wrong with you. Obviously, you want to go get it checked out, make sure that you don't actually have something physical wrong with you. But oftentimes lately, we're seeing a lot of vertigo and headaches again. Fatigue has been huge. And for me, I can say that I'm just doing my best to listen to my body. If I'm feeling really tired, it's okay for me to take a nap. I can slow down. I don't have to push. And I'm preaching to myself, if you've noticed, because I've always been the type, I got to go, go, go. I got to do. Right now, we're going through a lot of physical changes where it's a really powerful time spiritually. As far as I'm concerned, our energies are just shifting all over the place. And I've seen a lot of growth, and I know that you have too. And in those times, if you think of your children in growth spurts, in those times that we have a lot of growth, we have to really listen to our bodies. We really need to spend more time resting, having fun. Please play. Please play. Please have fun. Go out. If your body is saying, I want to go walk on the beach, or I want to go, take a stroll someplace. I want to go swing. I want to go play in some mud, whatever. Squish your toes between the mud, play in the mud puddles, whatever it is, because it's what brings that energy back. Kids know how to ground their energy. They know how to get their energy back. Every kid loves dirt. Like I've raised 6 of them. My kids love dirt. They were drawn to the piles of sand. They were playing in the dirt wherever they could find it. So they know how to ground their energy and get back into nature. They're, at least before video games came along, they knew how to get their energy back by going to the earth. And when they wanted to sleep, they slept. And when they wanted to have a temper tantrum, they had a temper tantrum. They got that energy out. They allowed themselves to vent. So there are ways that we can learn to take better care of ourselves and listen to our bodies as if you're just a little child. Be creative, doing the things that make you happy. You might like to paint, like Carol. I love to write. I write, makes me happy to write. What is it? What is your, or photography? Both of us love to go out and take pictures. So whatever it is that makes your heart happy, those are where you're going to find your energy come back, because life can be kind of icky sometimes and boring, can it? If we don't add that
Sure
kind of
can.
So we do have some. Hi, Vida. Hi, Patty. I don't know if you're still here. Julie Kiss has something. If you want to read her statement, she's got something for you.
She's given us so many hearts that I can't even see her comment. That's a good thing, Julie.
We love you,
Julie says she started new Amazon warehouse job this week. Worked 4 days in a row. OMG, so sore. What was I thinking? Julie, boy, I can commiserate with that. Not that I've worked Amazon, but I've talked to many people that have, and they just have told me how physically demanding and stressful it was to get used to.
Yeah, I think anytime you start a new job, especially we get up to a certain age. I worked at a theme park a few years ago. I was 49 at the time. I don't know what I was thinking, because I was out running rides and I was working. I didn't realize that because I was over 18, they were going to work me from open to close. And I was there for 12, 13. They kept extending the hours, and they kept extending my hours. And I was lifting up heavy kids, and I was just walking, running, doing heavy stuff all the time. Bumper cars were torture. And I thought that I was young enough, this desk person was working in hospitals and things like that. And then to go out and work in that heat, 9,500 degree temperatures and just melting. But here's the thing, Julie, is if it feels good, if it brings you that joy, even though physically our bodies feel tired, I felt better doing that job than I did working around sick people. Nothing wrong with working around sick people, but I'm very empathic, and I picked up all of the symptoms all the time. And I was very, very sad and tired and just didn't feel good most of the time. So, if the Amazon warehouse makes you feel good, you're out, you're busy, sometimes having a schedule and doing something, it makes you feel good. It's just like playing in the dirt, isn't it? It's still just as good for you, right? So I don't know, though. You're saying you're sore. I don't know how good. We'll see.
And who knows? She may not have been doing a physical job before, and now that you're being more physical, that could certainly make you sore. Even if you're just standing, more. I think sometimes that can make you feel, more tired or
Achy.
that kind of thing.
Take good care of yourself. Take a good hot salt bath. Epsom salts, anything like that. Put some lavender in the water, light yourself some candles, have a cup of tea, soak your body, get all those muscles back. There's something magical about Epsom salts. I don't know what it is, but an Epsom salt bath is like magic to the muscles. So maybe something like that would be good. What else are you guys up to today? We got Julie Kiss announced her new stuff. We need some more new stuff. I really want to, Vita's got one. All right.
Vita. Okay. I worked in an ice cream and chocolate shop. Oh boy, yum. Thought it would be fun. Boy, I was in left field. Had to remember the variety of chocolates. Good grief. Oh, yeah, that would be tough. I'd be sampling too many of them.
Yes.
I worked in an ice cream shop too, Vita, and I loved it. And the good thing was we got to take ice cream home every night. We had leftovers. We could take a half pint or a pint home. It was great.
I can imagine. I would not survive that job. I'd be huge. I'm kind of lactose intolerant. I can but I don't know if it's right there in my face all day. The one thing, we've got a lot of physical things. All of us have new things going on all the time. What about one thing that I'm really noticing is that we're more and more in tune. And I'm going to go foo-foo because this is a foo-foo show. So we're more and more in tune to, I need to. I'm getting the big push to do this. There is something this morning, Carol and I were talking about it. Vita was in on the conversation also. Here I go with the again. I'm sorry. Stop it. This show is called Forever After That for a reason, because of the experience with Steve. And so many of us have had experience with spirit after they've left physical, that we still feel we experience spirit around us. And he has been very, very present, really since just shortly after he transitioned. But again, there is an evolution of how we experience spirit. And it has to do with our perception. So I want to I want that to be what we talk about today as much as we can. And I would love for you guys to please jump in on this. Let me get it started. When most of you know the story, when Steve first passed, I would go out and take walks. I would feel this energy around me. It'd be just electricity. And I thought, wow, my gosh, I would take a picture of myself, or I would just bathe in it. I'd enjoy it. Sometimes I'd even see him walking through the woods towards me. It was very personal. It was very beautiful. I was deeply in grief. Obviously, we don't get out of it. It just doesn't, even if we feel them in spirit, we still grieve and we still have a lot of pain. So it's taken me a long time. And in the process of trying to, in a desperation of my trying to have more contact with him, I really, really got more in contact with me. And that's what I want to talk about today, is how our experiences with our loved ones after they've transitioned actually help us to understand our own true selves better. And when I say our true selves, we are not just this little human walking the planet. We have our soul, we have our higher self, whatever you'd like to call it, our true self or God self. Everybody has a different name. We are coming more into an energy of many, and I'm seeing this with people that have been, really unawake for a long time. We're beginning to notice that there's more to us than we thought there was. And we're coming more into contact with that energy and more in tune. So I've talked about this for a few years, of the alignment of the egoic self, that very small physical self, with the higher self, the God self, the part of you that has always existed, will always exist. That part of you has never known suffering. The part of you has never fallen into that lower vibration. Now, that does not mean that part of you has not experienced, observed the pain and suffering of the planet Earth. That doesn't mean that. It means that it has never been a physical being. So it doesn't actually know. It's never been an ego. So that part of you has always been in a higher place. So we're creating a balance now. We still want to keep that personality. We want to be that person. We want to, we came here for a reason to be in physical. We wanted to experience this for whatever. Carol said, why would we do this? Well, because if we're pure energy, we don't get to, there are so many things. It's actually quite delicious. Yes, it's painful, but it can be painfully delicious. We get to taste ice cream. We get to experience what it's like to have that satisfaction of working all week and having a paycheck. We get to experience what it's like to get a higher education and go to college, to meet people, to go through grief. We couldn't go through grief on the other side. There's so many experiences that we get to have. So the way that I look at it, and I know not everyone agrees with me, but I look at God as being pure energy. And then that pure energy is broken down and split off into all of these beautiful higher beings of light, which is each one of us. We are created in the image of God, correct? So we are that energy, this beautiful energy. Well, the way that I look at it, God, the universe, whatever you like, can take any form they choose. So they chose to come in as who you are. So you have this, what you've forgotten, you are that, like this avatar that is also, you are also this bigger being, right? So full circle, this is where I came to this morning. I know I'm trying to give you a backdrop here to work from. So this morning, I went back into that time after Steve passed and the days when I was out walking, just seeking him, looking for him and looking for his energy. And I would experience him in the most beautiful ways. I'd be, whether it was stopping at the wedding photo and suddenly his energy just wrapped around me, or out in the woods, I would feel that electricity and I knew he was there with me. And at that point, I still had a very small way of looking at things. I was still kind of in my smallness, and I looked at him as being still Steve. And in that way, he still was Steve. I still felt his energy. But coming now almost 6 years since all of that happened, I realized that as he was coming back to me, he wasn't coming back to me just as the soul of Steve. He was coming back to me in the energy of, in the essence of God, because we are all cut from that same cloth. We all come up to the same tree. So this morning, as I was realizing that, all of a sudden I went, wait a minute. Yeah, as beautiful as that, it was so incredibly beautiful. His energy when he comes into the room is so incredible. And I've realized that, yes, he is now bringing, I evolved with him and I said, okay, now he's become part of the soup. When he comes in, he feels as if he's God. What I came to this morning was, not only was I experiencing, see if I can get this right, him in the essence of God. His energy was then back to fully into the other side, his higher self, which is the essence of God. But because we are all one, his energy was bringing me to the realization of what I am. And so I was experiencing him, God, me, all as one. So it comes to this full circle place of, I am experiencing myself in physical form through the energy of my higher self. I am physical, and yet I am experiencing what I feel like on the other side. Does that make sense? So I think so often we go through life and we're all physical. We don't realize what we are. Through losing him, and that's where I really want to get to, through that loss and that deep grief, he gave me the experience of eventually realizing that I was and am the energy that is the same as him, that is the higher self, that is God. Make sense? Am I making sense this afternoon?
It does make sense. It's still a hard concept, I think, for us to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
You explain it beautifully, but I think most of us, not having experienced the type of afterlife relationship with him, that it's hard for us to conceptualize and believe that, how can she have this happen? How can she feel this? And how can she then translate that energy and love that he brings to her? How can that also be God? I think a lot of people have a lot of trouble
right
conceptualizing or understanding that this you know,
Mhm.
is true.
Right. It's really because we've been taught. Remember that word. I mean, a
Right.
belief is not just something we've been taught and we've repeated it so many times that we believe it. So we believe in separation. And as
Right.
long as we believe in separation, what I'm telling you won't sink.
Right.
It'll be like most people that hear me say something like that, if they still believe in separation, they shut down. They literally can't go there. They're like, nope, I'm not even going to go to that place of believing that I am a part of the energy of God.
Mhm.
We absolutely deny ourselves a true personal relationship with the other side when we do that. And I totally understand what you're saying. To me, it's a miracle.
Mhm.
I don't know, other than the fact that he and I were so in tune.
Yeah.
And you have baby souls and you've got more advanced souls that seem to be more open. I know that you know people, little children sometimes are so open to the idea. When you're little, oh, can we do that, Carol? Because we did this earlier. And we did this in a meditation. And I would love for you guys to just hear me when I say this. When when a baby is born, they come along and they cut that umbilical cord. And in that moment of the umbilical cord being cut, the soul is fully into the body. It's in this baby, and it feels as if suddenly it's like flailing its arms. And for the first time, in anything that it can remember, it is by itself. It all of a sudden experiences separateness, which is something duality, which is something that is actually not true, but we have designed this to be cut that umbilical cord, you are by yourself. And so in that moment, right before that, when that baby is born, the baby still feels
Right.
completely connected to everything, to the universe, to God, to one another. Steve has given that to me. He's like, there is no loneliness on the other side. There is no one, or I am never by myself. I never feel, it wouldn't matter if I was on a planet and I was the only one there. I still feel connected. I never feel alone. The planet Earth allows us the opportunity to feel completely separate. And it doesn't really feel that good, but for some reason we want that experience. So we feel completely separate. But just because we feel completely separate when that umbilical cord is cut does not make us separate. It is really um, a sort of amnesia that comes over us where we just suddenly go, oh my gosh, and imagine how scary that is to a newborn baby, to be this perfect soul that is in an environment where everything is so connected and so perfect, and there is no loneliness, there's no separation. On the other side, that's what we feel, that's who we really are.
Right.
But we forget the second that umbilical cord is cut. So one thing that we were working with today was going back to that feeling of, that sense of being connected to everything that is. If you can come back to that sense of being connected, just try to remember what it is before that umbilical cord is cut, before you feel any aloneness, any separation. You go back into that sense of oneness. And when you go back into the sense of oneness, that is who you really are. So the separateness, that loneliness, is actually not true. It's actually just something that has been created so that you can have this experience. And who you really are is this perfectly connected being that never feels alone. You and I and everything on the planet and are completely connected. We are all one being. And I know that's really hard for people, but that's my best way of telling people how to get back to knowing what your higher self, your true self feels like. Your true self is very confident, has no need to ever feel lonely or codependent or anything like that, because why would you ever feel fear or codependency or loneliness or any of that if you are fully completely connected to everything that is at all times? So does that help?
Yeah. And it's like you said, it's kind of an amnesia, or it's, yeah, who knows how to completely describe it. But yes, we feel like we're totally alone. I mean, especially when you think back to an infant, you know,
Mhm.
they have no idea where they've just arrived, you
Mhm.
know, and they're completely dependent on others at that stage. They
Mhm.
can't ask questions, like, why do I feel so alone? Or why
Mhm.
do I feel so scared? Or why do I
Mhm.
feel hungry? whatever the child might be feeling, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess at times that continues to grow, you know, and as that feeling of aloneness, I think for some people, they get that reconnection very quickly because they want that connection, they miss that connection, and they find ways to turn within themselves to find that connection. And I think there's a lot of people that have that connection at a very, you know, from the very beginning, but most of us, it takes years to
I
find
think
it.
the
I'm
young-
still working on it, you
Right.
know, I'm still working on that. There's days when I feel very connected
Mhm,
to God and to the other side and other beings.
mhm.
And there's other days I'm like, no, I'm here all alone. There's
Yeah.
nobody around.
That little girl
And,
inside of you.
and I think that's, I guess, you know, that's the human experience.
Right. Do you feel as if, I really feel like we're coming to that place? I realize that I sound crazy to a lot of people, but some of us are just stepping out ahead. We're all going to catch up to this. And that's where there's so much unrest in the world right now, because this feels very foreign. And the energy that's coming in, even though it's very connected and should feel good to us, if you are truly chewing on the idea that you are separate, that God is somewhere out in the clouds someplace, and that I'm this helpless little victim. I have no responsibility, true responsibility for what's going on in my life. I'm just getting tossed around. Then, and many are very comfortable in that place. Then they don't want to take that responsibility for the idea that they actually have more control than they think. It's easier to give that to somebody else. And that's where a lot of we're seeing this big separation of the narcissistic type personality to the empathic personality. If you're willing to go and you push yourself, and please understand there's no judgment in this. You get to have whatever experience you want. You can take that path. It's okay. But I feel like with the energy that's coming in now, because it's so loving, because it's so complete, we're learning that there isn't a fear in accepting the oneness theory. The idea of oneness is becoming more acceptable. We're kind of waking up to the idea that there's more to us than we thought. That wouldn't it be cool if we could have a heaven experience on earth? Why should we go and keep on suffering? You know, we have come to the end of that cycle where humanity has to just be in pain all the time. Why do people want to stay? That's what I don't understand. It's like, it's so hard for me to see people suffer the way they do and accept that as being just the way that it is. So for me, like you said, I'm that hungry tiger. It's like from the time that Steve passed, I was the hungry tiger. I was like, I'm going to find him. I'm going to find a way to still communicate. I'm going to find a way to raise my vibration. That was my key. I knew at that point that if I could get my vibration high enough, that I could be in closer contact with him. So as we learn how to raise our vibration, we actually come closer to our own truth, our own divinity. It wasn't just, I may have set out to find Steve, but I ended up finding me, the more and more truth of my own self and who I really am and who everyone else is. Hi, Lisa Kessler. So what it comes out to be, and what I'm finding this week, and I'm going to say this real quick so we can look and see who else has something, because I would love to try to receive some messages from the other side also. Is that you come to that place of your own divinity, and when you're in your divinity, you are up above. You're like in a high vibration. When you're in that high vibration, I wrote about it in Anchor Light, and I keep on just going back to that very simple way is you go up to the crow's nest. You're literally, you're climbing the ladder. As you raise your vibration, you get up another rung and another rung and another rung. And it takes practice to get yourself up there. And it takes even more practice to stay up there, because it's really easy that we're up on that high rung and we're really making some progress. And somebody comes along and grabs a rope and yanks us back down again just by having a bad mood, or, you know, something happens, something that makes you ground flat tire or whatever. Something happens and all of a sudden you're like, boop, right back down to the bottom of the ladder again. But you never hit ground zero again. I don't believe. I think once you've learned what it feels like to be in that high vibration, even though you take that roller coaster ride, it pulls you down every now and then. You climb every time you do it. you will climb up easier and easier and easier. So it takes practice, and it takes that willingness. It became my full-time job. I had to find that energy. I had to figure out, for me, it was not only was it finding him, but it became, why am I still here? Why are you gone? There was that desperation of what,
Yeah.
why am I still here? Why did that survivor's guilt kind of thing? And so it was, I needed to find him, and I needed to find answers, and I needed to know what it was that I was here to do. And that was an evolution too, because it was like, well, maybe he's here to help me do this, or maybe he's here to help me do that. Literally, we are here to raise that, to help one another through our through our energy, not through, we can do stuff if we want to, but his energy with me was what helped me to raise my vibration. And as I've learned to raise my vibration, I spend time, and you do the same thing. We then kind of have these tendrils around us. So we're then, wherever we go, without talking about it, without trying to shove it down people's throats, we're just, the energy reaches out and touches, and it wakes people up.
We just have to be there. Right.
Right. It flips that switch. We don't even know that we've done it. The energy goes about us. I saw, like this week, I saw my higher self in a meditation, and she just had this long flowing gown, and it was just literally just flowing everywhere she went. And wherever she went, that energy just touched everything. And that is who we are. We're seeing ourselves in that. That's what she gave to me. She goes, yes, you see me as this divine being that's of perfection. And she's made it very clear, but that is you. You are a piece of me. So that's why it's been such a powerful week, to get to know what, instead of saying, well, I don't want to know that other part of me, I don't want to commit to that, because then I got to take responsibility for my own circumstances. It's like, yes, then I get to take responsibility, because then I know that I can change it. Then I know that when I get up in that high vibration, my life, my circumstances go along with it. I'm in a high vibration. I'm feeling really good. People are treating me different. The world just seems to become, it's like the oyster opens and I've got the pearl inside, and things just seem to be so much easier. It's not that things don't still go on. It's not like suddenly I'm, the princess living in a castle or something, but I'm not as, I don't focus on it. Because we get what we focus on, right? Wherever we put our energy, that's where what's gonna happen. We're manifesting very quickly. If we're focusing on lack, we're focusing on disease, we're focusing on the news and all the things that are going on, we are actually contributing to that lower vibration. So it's learning to get yourself up in there. Hold yourself in that high flying bubble that I like to call it. You're just floating around like a little, little rainbow bubble. You know how I like rainbow bubbles blowing off.
Who doesn't?
Stay there as much as you can. Just try to keep your vibration. If somebody comes along and they're like in a really low place, just see that negative energy bouncing off of you. Like it's just Boeing and it goes off someplace else. So it doesn't have that effect of, oh, now I've just been around somebody, because if I'm in a high vibration and it's affecting everybody, you better believe that those people that are walking around a very low vibration are going to affect each other too. So it's like taking that responsibility for holding ourselves in a very safe, protective bubble and not letting everything knock us all over the place.
I try to take it if I'm in a situation where I'm feeling negativity or anger or whatever, and like I had the situation in the airport this weekend, and I was walking through the airport, and there was a family that was having some issues. And so they were exchanging some unkind words to each other, we should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the first thing I did was just silently asked, please help these people. And just sent out some love and compassion as they were trying to work through an issue. I didn't know what their issue was particularly, but I could tell that they were upset and stressed. And, that's such a simple thing, just to ask for compassion and love to be sent to these people and to do it yourself. Mm-hmm. And I, actually, said to the woman, I said, it's going to be okay. You're going to make it to your flight, because they were struggling to make it to a flight and everything else. And, I hope they did. But, even that, just, saying a kind word, or even just, in your own mind, just wishing them, some love and compassion for whatever the situation is that they're going through in that particular moment. That helps, I think, raise the vibration around at least a little bit.
Mhm. Exactly. And I think it helps more. I think you're doing more than you think. I mean, often we don't realize, but I love it. Sometimes, and it's been fun when we have been together and we go to a grocery store or something. And I know when we were with Geraldine, it was like we went into this Harris Theater and this kid was struggling. He's having a hard time. And so, she comes along and she goes through and she's smiling and talking. He's like, yeah, but man, you guys are, she goes, they are so friendly from wherever she's from. And then Carol comes along and it's like, you were so friendly. And then I come along and I was so friendly. And he was like beaming by the time he got through the end of that. And it's like, no matter what we're doing, if it's Julie Kiss working in an Amazon warehouse, if it's, wherever you are, it is focusing on the fact that your energy is so powerful. And don't think that you're just sitting there and you're thinking that person really needs help. If you're actually setting your intention on, please send energy, loving energy to that person. You often, I feel it. Sometimes I feel it and I don't even know who it's going to. I just feel that draw of energy. It's claiming your own power for how you're presenting yourself to the world so that you're bringing people up instead of bringing them down. And that's something that we just need to be, I think, the bottom line over everything I've said, be more aware. Be more responsible for the energy that you're putting out into the world so that, because we're all in this together and God knows it's not easy. This is a tough playground that we're on. So even if they don't know we're doing it, we can send out love and just peace and try to give that little child that was there with those two parents, that child was peaced out. Focus some energy of love on that child so that child has an easier time dealing with the issues that mom and dad are having too. That's really powerful.
Right.
So we got a lot of ice cream stuff going on. People aren't telling us we've got
ice cream.
What is it? It's about 6:37. I felt like today when you started saying, what are we going to do today? I kind of have done my blah, blah, blah. And I'd like to allow for yada, yada, yada.
But that's what we love about you.
It's just, the energy comes through and it's going to speak. I'd love to allow for angels, guides, loved ones, anyone that chooses to come through with any kind of, I feel a lot of energy. There's a lot of heat. So when I said angels, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of angelic energy here today. Why we don't often want to focus on that kind of stuff. We feel silly or we feel like, oh, people are going to think I'm crazy. But the truth is they're always around us, always waiting to lift us up, waiting for us to ask for, because we have this silly thing called free will, free choice. So they're waiting for us to ask for assistance. So if there's anything, I see a few here. I don't know if there's anybody in the other one, but if you have a question or if you would like to have some kind of communication or something going on with you, please let us know. Maybe we can help bring through a message or some loving energy from the other side, because that feels really important. And I'm getting a lot of energy coming through. I'm not sure what's going to happen. We'll see. I get that crazy look on my face, but I feel a lot of energy coming through all of a sudden. Lots of love energy. I think that more than anything, that's really, people want to ask personal questions. They so want to just talk to. The most important thing when someone passes is there's a few questions that are the most important thing. And that's what they're really pushing is, are they okay? We're always like, are you okay? I was so concerned. I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a traumatic thing. And I was very concerned. I had been the caretaker, and to suddenly just not be able to caretake, and not know, are you okay? That's very important. And the answer is always yes. Every one of us is so supported through the process of transitioning out of physical form. There's never a time. You can go to the most traumatic, violent, whatever kind of death that people have had. And every time the angels were present, and every time they supported them completely through the process. No one ever dies. They're never alone in the process, that reconnection. So as we come in and that umbilical cord is cut, we suddenly feel alone. But as we're transitioning back out of physical, that umbilical cord is reattached and we go back into that very quickly, back into that sense of connection. And so there is no alone. Nobody, doesn't matter how, if they're out in the middle of the desert, nobody ever transitions by themselves. And that's something that came straight through the angels. They're always there. They always support. Loved ones will always come through. No one will ever go all by themselves as long as they're open to the idea. There are those that don't cross out of fear, out of whatever reason they choose not to go into the light. That's a little bit different, but I'll tell you that is also coming through clearly, is that when they choose not to go, that there is always, just like we ask when we're ready for assistance, as soon as that soul is ready, or maybe someone comes along and helps them, they might see your light shining and come to you. But there is always assistance on the other side, just waiting for them to be ready to cross over. And it's always love. Please know that there is no judgment, and it is always love. All that we experience when we transition is love. There's no, you're going here or you're going there. You don't get to come in because you're not.
I think that's important, because so many of us were raised in a religious background that may have included a lot of judgment, not only of our daily lives, but judgment, was always, oh, you'll be judged on the day, that you leave the physical, and you'll stand before God, and everything will be made known. And I think that's very ingrained in many people. They are so fearful of that quote unquote judgment day. But really, there's just love waiting for us. They're not going to judge us. Are they going to show us, did we maybe make some errors or mistakes? Could we have made better choices? Yeah, but it won't be anything where they judge us for which choice we made.
Right.
It'll just be, this is what you chose. This is what you experienced. It's not going to be, now you've got to go to purgatory for 5 years, before we allow you back up here.
There's no heaven jail.
Right.
Right.
I really believe that is not true,
I would say,
I think so many people still believe that.
Right. We are our own worst critics. And when we cross over to the other side, we are still the ones that will decide what we want to repay. That's where karma comes from. People are always like, well, what's karma then if God's only love? Karma comes from us and it's not, karma is not judgment. It is simply our wanting to rebalance the scales. It's simply, that's all it is. We say, well, we did this, so I'm going to experience this in order to pay. So, because that makes us feel more balanced, but it's not ever done in judgment. It's always done in love. And we are our own. When you say you stand before God in judgment, you stand before you in judgment because you decide, and it's not a judgment like, oh, you're going to get to hell. It is a judgment as you get to decide how you'd like to do it next time, or if you'd like to next time, if you want to be physical again, and how you would like to switch things up next time. So many times, if you'll see these soul circles, you'll see these soul families where maybe somebody was a father in one lifetime and a daughter, and then in the next lifetime they might flip roles so that they can get a different perspective. They can have a different experience. They may pay back karma through that relationship, but there isn't any judgment in that. And it's just their own ability to recreate and to balance.
To rebalance. Right. No, I agree.
It's so much more complex, and our brains just want to take it and turn it into something that's really not very pretty. And it really is. It's all experience. There is no judgment of your experiences. There is no judgment. Everything holds value. So if they could tell you anything today, it's like, let go of your own guilt and shame and blame of things that you feel like you failed at, because there is no failure on the other side. It's only experience. and you are so loved. And so if you can just let go, because that stuff is holding you back, it's keeping you in this pattern of negative energy, which keeps you from climbing up those rungs of the ladder. And so when you just take that baggage and lay it down, and do you know that most baggage that we carry is somebody else's? Somebody else laid it on us. Somebody else laid that guilt trip. Somebody else put their own stuff in our suitcase, and we've been lugging it around for a really long time. Really pay attention to it. Wait a minute. That's not even true. You know, how many times do you do that where you go, wait, I remember this, and it's been really eating at me for the past 30 years. And then you go, I'm not even remembering that right. You know, that's not even the way it happened. But something in us, especially little children, will take things,
Right.
they'll be guilty over stuff because they don't understand. And they're not getting the support they need. They're not being loved through the hard stuff. And so kids that, you know, especially, they still do, but I know there was a time when if a child had any kind of extra energy, was a little hyperactive, or was, you know, kind of precocious, like got to beat it out of them. You know, they've got to be, you know, obedient and quiet, sit at the desk, don't make any noise, don't ruffle any feathers. And so, and don't daydream, and don't show that childish creativity when you're doodling, when you're
When it's
daydreaming.
not time.
Right. And so we've had it drummed out of us, that innocence, the childhood innocence, but we are all still very innocent. We are all still daydreamers. We're still creators. We still have that beautiful innocence inside of us. It's gotten buried. So they keep on reminding us of that. You are still that very innocent child. Please see yourself as that, so that you can allow yourself to let go of all this baggage that you're carrying around. It's no fun.
Right.
Julie Kiss, did you see that?
Yes, Julie says, I feel like I flipped roles with my mom.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. You know, there's been times when I feel like I did the complete opposite of what my mom did. You know, I remember being, I guess, the rebellious child and teenager. You know, I don't want to be like you. I don't want to, do this or that.
Right.
And it's funny. Yeah, I think sometimes you do the complete opposite, or sometimes you become your mother later on.
Right.
Simply because you realize, oh, well, she did have some good points, about this or that. And it's amazing how our perspectives change, especially concerning our parents or our siblings, or or family members in general. As we age, as we get older, and we have more experience with the world, and it's like, yeah, she was right about that. Okay.
How about this too? I know one thing that you and I have both been working on is I see God in all. And so it's really changed me, because I think this past week, because I have had I've been very reactive to a lot of things that are going on in the world, to a lot of the opinions and a lot of the really loud stuff that's going on in the news. I'm just like everyone else. I can be very reactive, and I can have my strong opinions too. And so as I go into that now, this week, I've learned a new phrase from Paul Selig's books, is I see God in all those things, in all people, that at the root of each one of us is God. And so if I can stop looking at this from the outside, seeing somebody from the outside and getting really irritated by them, and realize that they've had different experiences than me. Their perception is very different. And yet underneath all those layers, they are me. They are the same as me. So I can see them. So if I stop myself, I have my keywords, and I just allow them to be in that space of their truth, instead of seeing their small self that's all wrapped up in all of this untruth stuff. I can see them as their truth, who they really are. And it's not easy. It definitely takes practice, but as what you were saying about our parents, is we can do that too, because we often feel like our parents have failed us in some way. Oftentimes they weren't there when we were growing up, or they were too hard on us, or, whatever it might be. And so instead of seeing them just as that parent, like they're some kind of failure, we see them as that you have a divine plan and you came in. That was one thing that I had to learn for my own father. It was that even though some people in our lives have caused pain and suffering, it is their role. It's not who they are. It's
Right.
the role that they chose to play. And I likely asked them to play that role. I'm the one that set up that contract so that I would have the opportunity to learn and to grow and to wake up and to open up to different experiences. So I am then taking the responsibility for those that I've brought into my existence instead of making everything somebody else's fault.
Right.
It's me. I take responsibility for my own experiences. And it allows me to move past them instead of staying stuck in them. Blaming people and creating guilt and shame and all of that and judgment, that doesn't move us forward. That holds us in the mud and the muck. And so it's just a matter of finding a way to release that, let it go. Let it go.
Let it go is right. Yeah.
Was the
I
best.
mean, isn't that really, what Jesus or Yeshua said, turn the other cheek.
Right.
You're letting it go.
Let it
You're
go.
letting it go because, it doesn't help anybody,
It's not serving me to do it, to stay there. Now, does that mean that they're going to change? Maybe sometimes when you change those contracts, when you,
maybe not.
it sometimes does change the energy of the relationship. And if it doesn't matter. It's not my place to change how they respond. I can't control how anybody else is going to respond to me. I can only control my own response, my own reactivity. And I'm taking my own divinity into my own control and saying, okay, no, we're not going to respond that way. It's okay to just turn and walk away sometimes. Sometimes silence is the best way to handle it because you can't always fix it. But do I want to let myself always get hurt by it? Because I'm very easily hurt, just like all you other empaths out there. I get hurt so easy, and I think, oh, I'm really working on this and I'm going to be okay. And then somebody will say something really sharp and it's like, oh gosh, it really hurt. And I want to react because it hurt me and I want to lash out right back and say, why did you hurt me like that? And I have to go back to my keywords again and say, no, God is in this too. And it's okay. And I can step away from it. So, but it doesn't make me perfect because I still find myself there just like you do. It's definitely we're a work in progress.
Well, none of us are perfect, that's for sure.
Not on this side. On the other
No.
side, you are. If you could see yourself, your true self, you'd be like, whoa, like when they step into the room, you're like, wowzers. And that is the truth of you. And so it's focusing on that and not necessarily focusing on your weakness. Can you, every time you go to that place of feeling weak and lonely and tired or whatever, and you go, oh, but, oh yeah, there you are. And going back to that, it really, really helps. This is what I've found. We don't have a lot of people coming in on this conversation. I would love it if we had, I'd love to see some messages of hope or whatever it is that you need or whatever comes through to you. That's the truth, is that we're all channels. I think oftentimes we look at other people and we go, well, they channel messages from angels and they can do this and they can do that. And we can all do that when we tune into that deeper, that really beautiful side of ourselves. The energy comes through and it brings us these messages of hope, of love, and it keeps us going. So I'd love for people to come through with whatever kind of messages they're getting. We got, it's not cooperating today. Maybe because I'm just not seeing them, but I'm like, come on, guys, bring this.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either, so I don't know whether they're just like,
blah, blah, blah. I can be a blah, blah, blah. You know me. I'm reaching, I will go back into, and I'll just allow them to come through if that happens. I would let, and if you ever feel something when you're on here, even if it's light language and you bring it through the energy, that's something that has been they've really been pointing out, is that in the things that we do and the things that we say and everything, there is an energy attached. And when you speak light language, even though we don't understand what you're saying, we feel the energy of the light language. And some deeper part of us does understand, even though our brains are just going, I don't get it. There's a deeper part of us, just like when we we have a singing bowl, or certain tones,
Oh yeah.
or certain
Yeah.
music, it has an effect on us. Light language has an effect. Words, when they're channeled, through books, you'll read a book and you're like, wow, why does this feel so good to me? Because it's the energy is there from that, from whoever was writing was instilling
Right.
some beautiful energy. So, and we're all capable of that in our own ways.
Well, even a photograph. I mean, this morning in our group, you posted a photograph and said, well, what do you feel? And first I looked at it and it was like, oh, I see this. And then I was like, no, she asked, what do I feel? Because initially I saw grief and sadness.
Right.
And then when I allowed myself to just open my heart to what was I feeling from that photograph. And I've tried this many times before. We've done this in Voice of the Spirit, I think, at times where we've, looked at photographs and tried to figure out what we see or feel or whatever. And this overwhelming feeling of love came back. And as it just enveloped me, I was like, this is source. This is God's energy. It's not just the love, there of the person. This is bigger than that. And as I continued to look at the photograph, I was like, oh, it's the light. The light streaming in is the energy bringing that love. But it was captured in that moment, in that photograph.
Right. I was really feeling it. And it's funny that you said that, because you just reminded me of something that came to me. I actually wrote something about that time, about love being in the light. I was always so drawn to the light, and wherever I still am, if I'm out walking and the light comes through the trees and it touches the water, or it comes through and it's touching a little green patch, or the way the light in these mountains, there's light hitting this part, but it's not, there's shadows, and I'm drawn to the light. And at that point I remember, and that was right about that time that I realized that there was love in the light, that it wasn't just the sun shining on my face. I felt that source energy. I felt God. I felt whatever terminology you want to use. Steve, at the time, it felt like Steve. Me, now I'm realizing that is my energy too. So it's all the soup of beautiful source energy that was coming through the light. And when we're really hurting and we're open and we're ready to pay attention to that, that's where we find ourselves again. And we're not just finding that love, we're finding us, because we are created from that unconditional. I don't even like the word unconditional, because that means at some point there was
right.
The light on the other side is pure and perfect. There was never a condition that would ever take it away from us. Hi, Anita. Yes, Julie, she's got you. So that is the feeling that in that picture. I love that you picked up on that when I posted it, because I had seen it. I pulled it back up. That was back in the spring of 2017. Now, he passed, he transitioned in September of 2016. So I was still pretty fresh. And I'm pretty sure that's when it was. It might even have been sooner than that.
Wow.
But that was, but I was definitely experiencing, there was a certain area where I'd walk through and it would go electric all of a sudden. And I was like, oh, he's here. I could so feel his energy. I know that you have been experiencing that more and more. And I feel like we're really opening up to energy more and more. And so when we go in places and we walk through, we're feeling, I know sometimes it's not a really great energy. Sometimes it feels a little heavy, but you're feeling in that solar plexus area is that feeling center for me. And I walk into it, and that's where I was feeling it then. It was like, oh, boom, love. And I just stopped. I froze. And I love that the picture still, as soon as I pulled it up last week, I was like, oh my gosh, that picture still holds love. So whatever we're doing, whether we're writing, we're photographers, we're painting, we're singing, our energy is instilled in that thing that we do. As long as we're in that energy of love, it is instilled in what we're doing. And it's going out, reaching out to those people around us, and they're feeling that love too. And it's just like, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Like people are just.
Where was it? I'm sorry to break in, but we were in a little town, and I don't remember the name of it, when we were down in Asheville. But there was a photographer, a young photographer, and I believe he was from Bulgaria. or somewhere. I
Yeah,
can't
somewhere.
remember where he said.
Mhm.
But I actually ended up purchasing 2 of his photographs. But the one photograph that I brought home, the reason it attracted me was the energy that I felt from that photograph. Now, this photograph did not have any human in it. It
Mhm.
was a picture of, it probably was like moss or some very fragile type green down on the ground. And it was very, gosh, what's the word? It was just beautiful. It was thin and like filaments. And
Mhm.
it almost looked like little stars all over the ground, but it was green, this bright, beautiful green. And actually, okay, part of the word I'm looking for is sacred geometry.
Right.
It totally looked like sacred geometry.
Mhm.
And laying on that was this one perfect leaf.
Right.
But the energy that I could feel coming from that photograph was intense. It was just
Mhm.
amazing. I had to have it
Mhm.
because, and even to this day, I have it sitting on a little table next to my bed. And it's, as soon as I wake up and I look at it, I feel that energy, a peaceful, beautiful energy. And it's emanating from whatever he caught there, you
Right. He
know.
was in that peaceful place. I'm sure that the energy was good. That's I still and I could tell you that same thing because I feel it. And this is why it develops because you keep getting better at feeling the energy. There's the place behind this Ogle cabin about a mile back from where I live, where I took Steve's ashes right after we came in October of 2016. So it was a month after he passed.
Mhm.
I took some of his ashes back there. And then I went back again in March of 2017 for our anniversary, and I took the rest of his ashes back there. And so I would walk back there, and a few times I'd walk, and I was too distracted, and I couldn't quite find the place because we'd had that big fire, and everything was all shifted around, and I couldn't find it. I went with a good friend, and she was very, very in tune. And we're just walking slowly, and all of a sudden, I just picked up on the energy. It's
Mm.
like you're this bloodhound. All of a sudden, you're like,
Yeah,
oh, what's that? And I just let it lead me instead of trying to find it with my brain and my eyes.
yeah. You
Let
have
it
to do it with your heart.
right. That's one of my favorite places to go sit now. But I remember the first time, and it is still there to this day, and I've posted pictures of it. Back there in that section where I left ashes is a rock with moss, that same green moss in the shape of a heart.
Mhm.
It never goes away. Dead of winter,
Wow.
whenever I walk back there, that heart sits right there waiting for me. So it's just um and I know that too, and I'm getting the energy right now. It's hard to talk there. I know that these mountains, you experienced it when you were
Mhm.
here. We have, what is it, 300 million-year-old rocks. These mountains are so old. And so the energy just being here, sitting by the water, sitting on a rock is so powerful that when he takes this photography you're talking about, he must be somewhat energy sensitive. And so when
Has to
he's
be.
out taking a picture, he feels that energy and he takes a picture of it, just like the
Mhm.
picture that you looked at where I was in it back in 2017. So it's like pay attention to that. When you're working from your heart, from your solar plexus, and that love that you've got from source is present, and you're working on something and you put it out, and then a lot of people are writing, and the energies in their writing, pay attention to how it feels. Don't just use your eyes, don't just use that brain of yours. Stop for a minute and feel it like you did this morning. What does it feel like? And start playing with that. Go into a rock shop and start let those crystals pull you from one crystal to another until you find that one that says, oh, I'm yours, take me home. Because everything is energy before it's physical, and it holds on to that energy. And it can be a flip side. You might have something in your space that doesn't feel good and it's nagging at you. You can't sleep at night because it's in your space and it's
Mhm.
be clear to the energy, or you just need to get it out of your space because it just doesn't work for you. We are becoming more and more energy sensitive. So I would really suggest to people to really pay attention to. Julie would like you to post that picture of that moss too.
Oh,
Um,
I will, Julie. I'll post it either on my page or I'll post it in the comments.
Yeah, we'll do that because if in my group, in the imagination of becoming, we can post things like that with some
That's right.
opportunities for you to go, okay, I see it. Like I've always seen it. My eyes are used to seeing. Now let me feel it with my heart. Let me feel it with my solar plexus. Let me see if I can actually get a feel for what this is, what this energy is. Because once you wake up that part of you, it is one of your clairs. It's not all like, oh, I can see dead people walk up to me. That's not what we're talking about. Being able to truly feel spirit or feel energy is, I was watching something on Gaia that was talking about portals and things like that. And it was saying the importance, and this is NASA has actually proven that this is true, that these places where there are these ancient structures or these rocks that are put in these, whatever it is that they have from outer space, they've measured the amount of energy and there's energy there that there isn't anywhere else around it. And
Right.
so you have the ability to tune into energy. And one thing he said that really stuck with me was, if you can tune into the energy, you can do anything. Like that is where your powerhouse is there in that core of you that senses energy. That's where energy healing comes from. That's where you're able to sense where you've got blocked energy. That's where you start to release energy. It's where you start to move your energy is the vibration that lifts you up higher, that gets you into that higher space where you're beginning to live in the space of true manifestation, which means that my life just becomes better and better because I'm up in this higher space. So it requires us to learn about energy and to become more in tune so that we can then feel it and create from it. It's a very powerful source that all of us have available to us that most of us have never tapped into. So that's thank you for getting us into that. We're actually running late, but that's okay because I feel like that was a really important message for people, that it's actually a lot of fun. We went in the antique shop, we both ran into the same energy. I walk up and I'm like, oh gosh, what's this? And then I turn around and you're standing behind me and frozen in the same
Same spot.
I was like, oh, she gets it. She felt it. She felt that energy. It's fun to play with. And you set up protection for yourself. You're in a high vibration, you're okay. But feel what it thinks. Everything holds energy. Feel it. What does it feel like? It's really important, and it's very beneficial to you because then you'll know what is good for me and what is not good for me. Where do I need to live that feels right to me? If I'm never happy where I am, well, what does the energy feel like? Oh, it feels awful. I'm always tired. Well, then you're not living in the right place. You want to live a happy, fulfilled life, then let your body, what is it, astrocartography, where it tells you the best places for your astrology.
Oh yeah.
Where the
Right.
energy will be correct, or will be, that around Asheville, because there's those ley lines too. We feel energetically, it feels really good. So paying attention to your body and the energy that's in your body, it's life altering. That's the truth. You are so welcome, Julie Kiss. We are running out of time. Carol, is there anything else? I've blah, blah, blah again. Is there anything else that you want to share before we click off of here?
No, just to like you say, start playing with the energy. I mean, I know that even geez, it was probably a year ago, and I was just walking in a park, and I was like, oh, you can just you feel it. You know that someone was there, and you can feel that energy. It's when you really take time to just tune in, you can feel it.
Do you ever feel like, and I know there's truth to this, so I'm going to ask anyway real quick, is that we feel when every existence that we've ever had on planet Earth, we have left trails of energy wherever we go. We know that because places like Gettysburg that had horrible battles, wherever there's been horrible battles, you can walk on the land and feel that energy of, sadness or death, or you can feel it. Just the energy holds an imprint, or the earth holds the imprints of the energy.
Yes.
I feel like we're really working towards, I know you and I have already done this in places where we walk into certain areas and we clear that energy just by walking into it. If you carry a higher vibration into those areas on the earth that are holding a low vibration, where you're actually helping to lift the energy of the earth higher. So that's why it's so important that people start paying attention to energy, because this is what we're here to do. That's the truth, is we're here to help raise the vibration of the planet. It goes a lot way bigger than just us little puny this little lifetime that we're living, we have a responsibility to help us all to ascend, correct?
Right?
All right, guys.
Agreed.
Yeah, well, I'll just keep preaching all day if you let me. It's late. My kids would like dinner, so I think that I will let us click off and we'll go get our other stuff done. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you all, everybody.
Share it out if you feel like it's important. You don't have to. It's completely up to you energetically, however you feel. You do what you need to do. Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you guys, all of you, for joining.
Julie.
We appreciate you so much. And we will see you again next Monday at 6 o'clock. God willing.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Let me see if I can click us off of here.